Hey JF, I heard this is a special show for us.
Yes, absolutely. We got our first guest, and
Our
it's
first
someone you know.
our first guest. I'm excited and I know him or her.
Y- Oh, you know him. We're going to be talking with Lee Orchard, who is
Lee Orchard, the Manscot for the Vegas Golden Knights.
absolutely.
Montreal, San Jose, 2 minutes for chirping.
We are here with our first special guest. He is the Manscot for the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Vegas
And
Golden Knights, close.
okay, Vegas Golden Knights. Lee Orchard. How you doing, Lee?
I'm all right, guys. How are you? What's going on?
Great. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for coming.
So, James, obviously, I refer to you as James, or I'll be nice. Jean-Frederic, do I call you Jean-Frederic or JF?
JF will work.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, he doesn't like his name mispronounced, so call him JF.
Well, you pronounced it correctly, so that's fine.
And
It's because I'm not a heathen, that's why.
He's from
It is-
England. They actually know that there are languages outside
There you go.
their frontiers.
so let me tell you, I make fun of JF and the whole French Canadian thing more often than I think he would like. The other day, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, I did the Sacre Bleu, and I do that with him on occasion. Today, he sends me a tweet from one of the writers from The Athletic, which is, if you think you're being funny using Sacre Bleu, no one from Quebec uses it. So
Pretty much. Pretty much.
And in the
yeah.
conversation under that tweet, there was a lot of people from France who said, "You know what? No one from France uses it either."
Nah, very rarely.
that's the
Very
whole
rarely.
point. That's the whole point. So, all right, let's get started
Let's
here.
move on.
All right, so kind of an interesting story. I am a Sharks fan, and Lee, as we mentioned, is with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Bingo,
So how did we meet, Lee?
Facebook, I think it was.
It was
I think I
Facebook.
was. I think you were. I can't remember it, but it was first season anyway, and it was something to do with the open that we were doing for the Stanley Cup Finals, and you decided that you wanted to be funny, and sorry, I rephrase that. You decided you wanted to try to be funny, and I was still kind of learning at that point that I don't go on to any of the NHL pages or fan pages or anything, and I bit, and I think I may have called him. What did I call you?
You called me a wannabe Paulie D.
I
Yes.
think a poor man's Paulie D. That's what.
Yes.
It was.
So I can fill in some of the color there. So it was the first season. I don't remember if it was the finals or just the playoffs, but it was the network that the
Hey,
NHL used to.
at least we were there. At least we were there.
You were there. We were there that year. We weren't in the finals, but we were in the playoffs. Yeah, it was the network that the NHL used to be on. I guess we're not sponsored, so I guess I can say that. It was Versus, and it was a piece about the I like to call it the Ice Capade show that you folks do before the game, and it was it was a piece on the villain in your show. And
That's right. Now I remember. You're right.
and I remember somebody tagged him, and I told the guy, "Hey, I will give you $3,000 if you just you take his flag and you check him during the show." And
I remember. Do you know what I did? I told Zach to do it and split the money with me.
yeah, I don't think that would have gotten you out on bail, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. But but yeah, you responded that I was a poor man's Pauly D, and my response was
Something to do with
I
meth.
I called you Jason
Jason.
Jason Statham on crack.
There you go.
Yes. So and
I'll take that over a poor man's Paulie D any day. I really will.
Hey, this was during the height of Paulie D's popularity, and I mean, I felt I felt complimented. So, but you actually sent me, I think, a DM, and you said, oh, actually, let me add in one more piece. Just out of spite, out of pure spite, I went ahead and I tagged the NHL and Vegas, and I said, "Hey, is this what you want your on ice staff doing?" And I did do that. And he sent me a message. He said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have reacted that way." And I told him, "Look, I can take it as much as I can dish it out. No hard feelings." And he ended up being a really good guy, and I've hung out with him in Vegas since then.
Punched my DJs in the balls.
Punched one of his DJs in the balls, not in an angry way. I don't know that I should have said that. I probably should have just left it at balls. That's a story for another show, JF.
Yeah.
That's a story for OnlyFans, apparently.
And you're a piece of
So I got right. So let's get off this subject, right? So JF, who's your team? Montreal.
Montreal, yeah.
Okay.
So for us, there's a. Sorry, go ahead.
With a really good friend of mine in Vegas, Stefan, who's from Montreal. He's French Canadian, big Habs fan.
Big fan, yeah.
Yeah, poor guy.
Oh, we're rebuilding. We're on our way up, so it's going to be okay. But in recent years, one of the best, I'm going to say in recent decades, one of the best hockey memories that Habs fan have is June 24th, 2021. You remember that day?
Yeah.
It's actually the Quebec national holiday.
You're a parent.
And that's the day that we eliminated the Knights to go to the Stanley Cup final. So,
and that's where you got swept, right? That's where you got swept.
What?
Is that right? That's where you got swept.
No,
that's why you're sweating.
Game.
Oh, you won one game.
We lost in 5.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, swept. So this show is already better with 3 people, but I think we should probably ask Lee some questions.
Yeah. So, how do you end up being the golden knight for the Vegas Knights?
Yeah. So before you answer, I actually was wondering specifically, did you try to become gritty and they just turned you down, or what happened?
I'm not ginger enough. I'm not hairy enough. That's the problem. No. So I go back. Just do quick history. I've been a hockey fan since '87. Since '87 in England. I had some great memories of playing in the UK. For about 3 years, I think it was, as a peewee, and then I went abroad, and then I ended up in Vegas in 2012. Huge hockey fan, always have been, always will be. And then they decided that they were going to aim for a team with Vegas in 15, 16. And I was like, I really would like to be a part of that. I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to be phenomenal for the city. And then I thought, right, how do I get involved? How do I be part of this? So I did some stuff with the LA Kings in 15 and 16, and put on some events, some hockey events in Vegas with all the local community. And I thought that will help me going forward and see if I can be part of the organisation. It didn't. Had nothing to do with that at all. But then, I was. What was it? 2017. They decided they named it the Knights, the Golden Knights. Now, my background, going back years and years and years, I was a show director for Medieval Times in Europe, and I play hockey. I'm an MC. I'm a entertainer. And I thought, there's got to be something in this somewhere. And I ended up meeting the VP of game day presentation, and we had a long conversation about some stuff. And he's like, kind of, what do you want to do? How would you like to do it? And I said, well, I think it'd be a good idea to be involved in some way, shape, or form. I actually really wanted to be one of the in-arena hosts. That was my original plan. But then I also said, I'm British, I'm English, I get it. This is an American sport. and I actually likened it to if I went to see Manchester United play, and they wheeled out a American on the mic. I'd be like, really? We couldn't find somebody British to do this? I get it. I understand it. So we went back and forwards, and it got to, I think it was like 3 weeks prior to pre-season, and I'd kind of given up. I had season tickets. I was like, well, it's not meant to be. It is what it is. And then I get a phone call out of the blue and said, we've got an idea of a character. How do you feel? And the Golden Knight was born. That was really it. There was no auditions. There was no conversations. There was no. No, that was it. Just right place, right time, right experience.
That is cool. So tell us more. Actually, I want to get into what you do with the Knights and more about your job. I do also want to know. So growing up in Britain, playing hockey, it's got to be pretty unusual, not a big sport. And you're from Peterborough, is that correct?
Sure. Yeah.
So tell us about playing hockey in Peterborough.
It was certainly was a growing sport. It still is a growing sport, to be honest, in England. But one of my first ever Pee-wee coaches was a guy called Gary Unger, who was one of the original Iron Men of NHL. He played for St. Louis Blues, Canadian guy, and he came over to Peterborough and was one of the stars of Peterborough. And I remember, I think just kind of skating with him. But like I said, it's not huge. It's not huge at all. I mean, I go back every once in a while, and I always go to it's now called the Phantoms game. It was called Peterborough Pirates at the time. It's now called the Phantoms. They went bust and bankruptcy in England. You can't use the same name twice, etc., etc., etc. So they're now called the Peterborough Phantoms. But I always go to a game if I can. Yeah. I think there's one.
All right.
There's one guy in the NHL right now who's British. I say NHL. He's with the Coyotes. Liam Kirk. His name is Liam Kirk. Yeah.
Okay.
One guy.
Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't consider the Coyotes part of the NHL. We're going to talk about that eventually.
He's with the organization, is what was my point.
Okay.
Such a dick.
You can actually say it. This is a YouTube show, so cussing is allowed.
Yeah.
So what do you love most about being the Golden Knight?
Interaction with fans. I love it. Our fans, opposition fans. Like I said, the funny thing is when you go to a game and you're an opposition fan, you've always been used to giving, the mascot shit, and now I give it back, and that's not usual. People are like, you can talk. You can answer me back. Yeah, I can.
That's right. Good point.
That's true. You're not just a guy in a fursuit who can only, do movement. You can actually talk back.
Yeah.
Are visiting fans usually well behaved, or do you get some real assholes that try to get under your skin?
No, James. Actually, the funny thing was that the only time that James has actually been to a game was during. It wasn't COVID, but it was COVID adjacent. So we were allowed
that's not accurate, actually. But go ahead.
I think you'd been there. I didn't know you then. That's my point.
Correct.
I didn't know yet. But then, so the only time since I've known him that he's been to a game that I got him a ticket for. By the way,
that is true.
He came. It was when it was post-COVID, but we were allowed to have fans in the seats, but we weren't allowed to go into the seats.
It was Patrick Marleau night.
That's right. There we go. Yeah.
The day the evening he broke the record.
Yeah. It was a nice.
James gonna cry.
What is this, gang up on James time?
Hey, listen, you said yourself, you give it as good as you take it.
That I'm gonna leave that one alone.
You have to take it as good as you give it.
Go on. So interactions with the fans.
Yeah, I mean, 98% of the time it's great. 98%, and then you get the odd 2%, and it's fine. I don't really care. The only time it's really nearly came, it wasn't even me. It was a couple of Sharks fans, believe it or not. I think I did tell you this, James. It was before there was that big fight at the Sharks. Do you remember?
I remember the fight at the Shark Tank. I was at that game.
So I think it was like the game before that. It was in our place, and it was two guys, and they just got mouthy, and I went down and I was just cremating them, and we were bantering fine. We weren't having a problem, but the crowd around, the guests, the fans around, they were getting stuck in, and I'm like, this is going to get messy, and it did. But I actually ended up saving the two Fire Sharks fans. I'm disgusted with myself.
It sounds like you instigated the whole thing to make yourself a hero. I mean,
I didn't instigate it. I may have fueled it, but I didn't instigate it.
That's what is the difference? So tell us, JF, before you ask your question, tell us your craziest fan story, whether you were involved directly or not.
Oh, you have to come back to me on that one. I've got to think about that one. Okay,
fair enough. Do you have a question for him, Jeff?
Oh, I do have one. There we go. So, you know the Property Brothers? The Property Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
It's Jonathan and Silver Scott. So, they're in Vegas. I think they live here. I'm not entirely sure. But they're from Calgary. And we were playing Calgary. And they actually messaged the Golden Knights, or my bosses, because they knew them. And they said, can you send Lee down to give our friends a good razz? I said, yeah, no problem at all. I'll be down. I don't think they were actually at the game, if I remember rightly. They just sent their friends there. And I started razzing their friends. And the people behind them were also Calgary fans. Nothing to do with the group that I was talking with. And we were bantering backwards and forwards and having fun. And this woman, she flipped me off and called me an asshole. And I just turned around and went, I'm not even talking to you. She said, how rude. And I said, rude? You want to see rude? So no, I didn't even say that. And I just said, and she said something, and she said something. She went, I want to take a picture with you. And I said, my response was, I only take pictures with attractive ladies.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I was, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I thought, oh, that's going to bite me in the ass. I know it is. So anyway, she wrote an email to the Golden Knights complaining about me, but obviously she forgot to mention the fact that she flipped me off and called me an asshole at the start.
Yeah,
she forgot that part. But yeah,
flipped you off, but then has the galls to
yeah,
that's what to complain that you were rude.
Well, what I was thinking is she flipped them off, then she wanted to take a picture with him. How drunk do you have to be?
So do you actually have security follow you, or are you on your own?
No. I always have a handler, but it's one of the stage managers normally. But no, to be honest, there's no security. I got a sword. I don't need it.
So rumor has it it's a short sword.
Your mum knows.
Oh. I don't even know what to say to that one. Tell us a little bit about the behind the scenes stuff. What's your typical day like? Do you get to interact with the players a lot? What types of things do you do outside of the stadium, etc.?
To be honest with you, obviously we would have a bit more to do with the players first 2-3 years pre-COVID. It was probably more the scratches and the injury players and that sort of things that would be at the appearances with us as well. But obviously during COVID, we weren't allowed to talk to the players. We weren't to be around the players. We weren't even allowed to get in the elevator with the coaches or anything like that anyway. But it is what it is. It's kind of coming back a little bit now. I was actually in the elevator last night with probably 10 of the LA Kings players going up to the media box. And I got in and I said, hey, you're going to know each other really well after this elevator ride, aren't you? But they're so young. They're so young. They're like kids. It's just frightening. And they're all big guys as well. I'm literally, I'm 5'9", 5'9 and a half, and I'm looking up.
On skates.
Like, Jesus Christ. And I'm looking up at them, and I'm like, yeah, you're big guys, aren't you? So, but yeah, normal game day, we get to the arena about 4. We have a production meeting. I get a chance to have a coffee, relax a little bit, and then we leave for the march at around about 5:45. We do the march back to the arena, Plaza stage, into the arena, do a lap of the concourse, getting everybody going, get the atmosphere going, and then I go back downstairs. I normally hit the locker room about beginning of warm-ups. And then, I'm getting ready to go on the ice. So I, managed to just get a sip of water and put the skates on. Our locker rooms are behind the penalty box, so we have to walk all the way from penalty box all the way around to the sand tunnel, or if we're going on through the players' tunnel. So it's a long way round. It's a long walk. Sometimes I see a lot of the players and that point because they walk from there to the media room. So I see some of the players that way. It's fun. And then obviously we got the main game, it's the actual game itself, and then post game, if we win, we go on the ice. If we don't, we go, literally skulk back down to the locker room quickly and get a shower, and then out of there as quick as I can to get a beer
or a mead.
Beer. I'm not that old.
Gotcha. No, I didn't mean age. We don't. The only time we talk about age, it kind of bothers JF, so we try to stay off that topic.
I'm
It bothers me when you're lying about your age. I'm comfortable with where I am in life.
How old are you now, James?
25.
And yeah, right. How old are you, James?
I'm 46.
And you're still living at your parents'? Wow.
No, I haven't lived at my parents' in a lot. That part, it's so irrelevant. JF's just gonna cut it anyway.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
How old are you, JF?
I'm 51.
Oh,
Plus.
you look compared to him, you look like a baby. It's that fresh Canadian air. That's what it is.
Yes. So that segment is staying in.
Yeah, I know. The whole part, even about me, even about cutting it, of course.
So to get back on track, so Lee, so correct me if I'm wrong, but part of every pregame show, you sort of dismantle an avatar of the opposing team, right?
Most of the time we have a villain, we have an opposition character that's now faceless. It's now faceless.
Okay.
Majority of the time there is a character. I don't know what it'll be this year. I have no idea. I know there are some changes afoot, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of know some of it, but I'm not going to discuss it on here. That's for certain. But no. But there are some really cool stuff. There's some really cool stuff this year. We've done some great ones over the years. I look back at season 1, how raw it was, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, that was really bad. But then it got better and better and better through the playoffs, and then the second year it got even better, and we started using a lot more projection. The first year, I sliced a jet in half, for Christ's sake, in the Western Conference Final with my sword. And then we had some really cool stuff. But I think the best one was last year with the Seattle. I think that was the best one. There was a lot of money spent on the projection. It was so powerful. It was a really good start and a really good welcome to the league to Seattle. It was their very first game in the NHL, so we had to make it big. But yeah, it's really good. It was really good. We have a lot of fun doing them. So this year we'll probably do 3 or 4 in the regular season, and then hopefully we'll do some more, postseason.
I gotta say, I gave you some lip about the Habs eliminating the Knights, but during that series when you guys had the Photoshop photo of Celine Dion with the Knights jersey, it actually made the news.
No, that was actually real. That was actually real. She did, because she lives in Vegas and her son plays in Vegas.
Yeah, she does.
I think we've invited her a couple of times to do the anthem, but I don't think she's ever taken us up on it. But yeah, she did. She was wearing it. Wasn't Photoshop. She did wear it.
Okay, it made the news here in Quebec.
Did it? Good.
It did.
Yeah, JF, it seems like you're still taking it in. It was real.
Yeah,
Celine Dion put on a Knights jersey.
Oh, I don't care, but a lot of people were telling themselves that it was Photoshop. That's how they sort of dealt with it. So I'm glad we get to hear it from somebody who would know. So
all I'm saying is Metallica would never wear a Knights jersey.
Okay.
So are you ready for rapid fire, Lee? Okay,
Yeah.
so the way this works is these are going to be less in-depth questions. We're just going to ask you some quick questions. You can pass on any of them. Some of these, there's some chirping involved. Some of them are normal questions. Ready to go?
Oh yeah.
All right. Who is your favorite favorite NHL mascot?
It's got to be Chance.
Good answer. You passed the test. You passed the test on that one.
I do like Gritty. I like the persona of Gritty though. I do like what they've made it. That's very good.
All right. Growing up in England, did you have a favorite NHL team? And if so, who was it?
Kings.
The Kings, really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, your father was a Red Wings fan, correct?
Correct, he was. Yeah.
Okay. I actually thought your team would be the Red Wings. Do you have a celebrity crush?
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue. And how about an NHL crush?
Gritty. No, I don't know. I don't have one.
Are there any players that you really like working with or have liked working with?
Flower. Flower, Revo, Malcolm Subban, Brad Hunt. Really, really good guy. Really cool guy. Yeah, those.
Awesome. And VGK excluded, who are the best fans?
Ooh. Wow, you've got me on that one. Probably Predators.
Predators. Interesting.
Probably,
okay.
yeah.
And you've got to see them all since it's Vegas, and I'm sure you get a lot of Road Warriors there.
Mm.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip. That's very British of you. If you weren't the Golden Knight, what would you be doing? And don't say you'd be a lollipop kid, because that's already been done.
DJ. That's what I do.
DJ. JF, you have the question you wanted to ask, I know.
Will the Knights make the playoff this year?
Yes.
That's a guarantee? That's a Knights guarantee?
It's a hopefully guarantee.
Hopefully guarantee.
No, seriously, I am hopeful. I've been around a little bit of what's going on, and the vibe is really good. I think we've got the team to do it. I honestly do. I think we've got the depth this year. There are a couple of things that we're kind of missing right now, but I'm sure that during the season that they can make changes if they need them.
All right, Vegas excluded. Who wins the cup this year?
It's going to be tough to knock Colorado out.
You think they
Fair
can
pick.
repeat?
I mean, I don't. I think they've added a great goalie. I think this is going to be. This could be controversial. I think they won the cup last year in spite of the goalie they had, not because of the goalie they had.
That's not controversial.
Yeah, we covered this a couple shows back, I think.
Yeah,
that's common sense.
I think they've strengthened. I think losing Kadri is a big loss, but I think that they've gained a great goalie. Yeah,
that's awesome take. Thank you for your time, JF. Did you have any rapid fire questions for him?
No, you've covered the ones I had. So
I'm
that
hoping.
was not the dumb question.
We're hoping to get up to Montreal at some point, so I will look you up, JF, when we go up there. We want to try and do that. Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. Yeah, we want to try and do that.
That's how I met Jay.
Sorry, James. Actually, that was a question I had. Do you travel with the team sometime?
Not with the team, no. Not with the team. My girlfriend and I were talking about doing a couple of trips this year. We've always wanted to do the New York try.
Yeah.
So it's Islanders, Rangers, and Devils. It's a really easy one to do because there's not a lot of travel involved. We're talking about doing maybe towards the end of the season Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary. But I really want to do Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa. I really want to do that. That's kind of bucket list.
Yeah, great. So let me know if you do.
Yeah, for sure.
Montreal.
For sure, we'll do.
JF, try not to let your head explode, but Montreal is beautiful. I think I've said it. One of my favorite cities. In the winter, it was just that old town was majestic. So it was great.
I've been lucky enough to skate on a few NHL ices.
Oh, you want to skate at the Bell Center?
I would love to skate at the Bell Center. I mean, everybody says it's the best ice. I mean, it gets voted best ice every single year by the players. So, they must, and they know.
So this is contrary to your plans, but if you come right after the season ends, usually there's a skating session for season ticket holders. So I've been a couple of times. It's really impressive to skate onto the ice.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I think we've done. Oh, crikey! What have we done now? We've done Kings, Vegas. Crikey. Yeah, crikey.
You're not Australian. You're British. Choose a nationality.
What else have we done? Anaheim, Arizona. I think that's it. So yeah.
You notice he left one out. San Jose. He's afraid to go. He's afraid to visit.
I just don't want to wipe my feet on the way out of the building. That's all. Don't want to get my sneakers dirty.
So before we wrap this up, is there anything you'd like to plug, Lee?
Not really. I mean, I'm a DJ here in Vegas. If you're ever in Vegas, please feel free to look me up. I always post my schedule on my Instagram, DJ Britley. On there, it's DJ Britlee. Brit because I'm British, and Lee because
makes sense.
Yeah, and that's it. But I'm glad that we've become friends, James and JF. I'm sure that we will become friends as well. Despite your terrible taste in hockey teams, both of you.
Well, speaking of terrible taste in hockey teams, why do you think?
Here we go.
Hates the Knights.
I think just because they were successful straight out the gate. It's when you look at the history of an expansion team, they've always sucked. I just think that we gelled very quickly. Our GM took advantage of a few of the processes maybe, but when you look at the team that was drafted in the expansion draft, there was I can guarantee there's not one person that knows anything about hockey that said this team's going to win. This team's going to be a winner. This team's going to be in the playoffs. Not one person. So I think that's what it was, and we just did. We ripped up the playbook, I think, especially when it comes to entertainment.
For sure.
We had a phenomenal team. I always talk to opposition fans. Sometimes it's bantering, sometimes it's a real good conversation. And most of the time, to be honest with you, when I've been, I remember the biggest, the most, the biggest memories are always Montreal, especially and Canadian fans. Montreal. I remember talking to a big group of guys, and they were like, "This is just phenomenal. We've never seen anything like this." And I'm like, "Would you, why don't you do this in Montreal?" It wouldn't work in Montreal. Wouldn't work. No.
Yeah,
we're too hockey. We're too hockey. And I'm like, but it's true. You come to Vegas, you want Vegas. You go to Montreal, you want Montreal. You go to somewhere else, and I get it. I understand that. But I think that I think that people still come to Vegas. I mean, last night, for example, we had our first preseason game last night. First preseason game of season 6, and still there was a lot of people in that building that had never been to a hockey game, and they were like, "This is amazing! I can't believe this. We've never seen this before." So and I kind of, it's hard. It's easy to forget, and it's hard to remember sometimes that people are coming for the first time, whether they're coming to a Vegas game for the first time or whether they're coming to a hockey game for the first time. And that's kind of, it always keeps me going a little bit. It's me,
the season ticket holders, like the Vegas season ticket holders coming to a hockey game for the first time.
Here we go.
It's funny because this reminds me, yesterday was the first preseason game for the Habs too, and next to my seat I had a couple of women from England based on their accent. And it was clearly their first hockey game, so some of the people around tried to explain the rules.
That's good, and that's what I love that.
Yes,
if I'm coming, I went to my first ever NHL game, NFL game last year. We didn't have a clue what the fucking hell was going on. We had no idea, but nobody around us wanted to tell us. But I think that's important. I think you get that with NHL games. You get people going, and you know what? But I would rather have somebody say to me, "Hey, how does icing work? What is ice? What is offside?" Rather than start spouting off about stuff that they don't know about. So,
But the fun thing about these two ladies is at the end of the game, the Habs pulled the goalie, and the ladies were flipping. I was like, "What's he doing? Where's he going? What the hell? Come on, come back!"
fans still do that season 6 in Vegas, but
Yeah.
You said it, not me.
I mean, a lot of people do come over from England, and they've experienced it. I think they probably go to the Rangers more, and Vegas. I think those two places. That's where, if you're going to be an English fan and you're going to go to America to watch a game, unless you're really targeting Toronto and you know your history, I think that's where people go, because they want to go to New York or they want to go to Vegas. So,
yeah. And I got to say, coming from a traditional stuffy hockey market, what Vegas is doing is a breath of fresh air.
It is.
And the people you spoke to were right. This wouldn't work in Montreal. But it's time to sort of do something different. And it's nice that teams like the Knights and the Predators are doing things differently.
I think a lot of teams are doing it now. I think that, I think we tore up the playbook a little bit and said, this can be fun. It's funny because I don't know if you know anything about baseball, but the original villain, Zach, he's now working for the Savannah Bananas. I don't know if you've been.
I know this. I know who they are. I know who they are.
He's now working in game day presentation. I would kind of say, I don't know if you know them, JF, but they kind of like the baseball's Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what they are.
That's a good description. Yes.
But it's a fun show, and I think that you can actually make it a little bit fun, and that's what we've done. We don't, we work alongside the GM a lot about how he wants to have things, and it was always drummed into us in the first season. Don't get cocky. That was the number one. Don't get cocky. That's from us. That's from our game day point of view. Don't get cocky. The second one was make yourselves the heroes. Don't focus on the villains. And that's something that we still go by. We make the product the hero. We don't focus on making the opposition look bad. We don't, and that's not what we're going to do. We will never do that. Not while I'm around. Not from my point of view. We'll have fun. We'll banter. We'll have jokes, but we won't deliberately say you're shit. Do you know what I mean? It's making the Golden Knights the heroes, which is something I really like about the game day presentation.
Yeah, that's good.
It's making everything fun. We want to have fun with people, and we want people to come to the arena and have fun. We don't want fights. We don't want animosity. We want to be. At the end of the day, we want to win. We're going to make it as difficult as possible for the opposition to win. We are. We're just doing our jobs. That's all.
Thank you, Lee. We've kept
Thank
you
you
for
very
about
much.
45 minutes, and thank you. I really appreciate it.
So thank you everyone for joining us for this special episode of Two for Chirping. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments in the chat. See you next time.
See you next time.
Montreal, San Jose, 2 minutes for chirping.